nights like this is why I am so glad that Apple TV has took over the rights in terms of broadcasting these MLS games because as we will talk about in this game, there is another example of what happened in this game that shows you why Fox is just so incompetent in terms of broadcasting these games, especially in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But before that, let's actually talk about the first game, which is Alajuelense and the New England Revolution. So obviously, out of both of these games, if you would tell me who, of course, has the best chance to advance, obviously it's the New England Revolution because I think everybody know that it was almost impossible for Cincinnati to move on into the next round and get a win against the mighty Rayados, who, by the way, have not lost a single game in league play coming into this game. And a little spoiler alert, obviously, eventually Rayados did get the better of FC Cincinnati. But coming into this game, we knew that New England might have a chance to move on, mainly because, they're 4-0 up on the aggregate score. But as what New England fans would tell everybody that, yeah, it's not really all over until the two-legged affair aside are all settled. And at least early in this game, I'll tell you what, New England really gave their fans a little bit of a heart attack because just 3 minutes into this game, Alajuelense would take the lead. It's Mora, the one that gets the opening goal for Alajuelense, and instantly PTSD happened for all New England fans, and even myself too, because I'm just thinking, uh-oh, is this beginning of another collapse for the refs? Is this the beginning of what we saw a couple of years ago between Pumas and New England in the second leg, where New England had a big lead heading into the second lead, only to ship off 3 goals and lose in the PK shootout? And it just feels like, yeah, this feels like a very similar vibes. Now, the good thing is that the refs did start to get into this game and try to slow the pace down because last thing you want is to keep giving Alajuelense chances and basically for them to score another goal in quick succession. And now all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my goodness, it's deja vu over. And it isn't it in terms of that Pumas game. But in the 21st minute, Ravis would deny Benega as he pushed that one onto the post. So in some way, they almost gave up the second goal if it wasn't for Ravis and the post to the rescue before he denied Mora in the front post in the 22nd minute. This was probably the best game that Henrik Ravis had as a New England Revolution goalkeeper, and he had to be because it was pretty clear what the Revs' plan was in this game. They were just going to sit deep. They're going to try to almost limp their way into the quarterfinal because Caleb Porter side has to be absolutely exhausted even before the game begins coming into this one. But the shots were 6-1 for Alajuelense up to the 30th minute. In fact, in the 30th minute, Venegas puts it wide off of a deflection. I also wrote the game kind of become a little bit stretched. It kind of become end to end because prior to when Ravis denied Mora in the front post, Ryan Spalding was basically in on goal here. And if it wasn't for Maria, the Alajuelense goalkeeper, to come off his line and somehow with a little bit of a slide tackle to basically chest that one down and take it away for Spalding. I mean, if Spalding was able to get around Maria, the Alajuelense goalkeeper, I mean, he had an empty net to shoot, and that probably would have tied the game up at one apiece. And then on the other end, it almost New England concede on the other end if wasn't for Ravis with some intervention in his front post. And then again in the 30th minute, Venegas would put it wide off of deflection. As I mentioned, the shots were 6-1 for Alajuelense up to that point. But we do head to halftime with Alajuelense leading 1-0. And in the second half, New England did do a little bit better job in terms of not giving up clear cut chances because in that first half there was definitely some clear cut chances for Alajuelense to score more than the one that they had. But there was no doubt that Alajuelense once again controlled the possession as New England they were looking to coast their way to this free goal aggregate good advantage because again this team is very tired coming into this one. Spalding then had a rare opportunity for New England, but he was denied by Moran in the 57th minute. I think that was like only the second shot for the Revs up to that point. Mora then hits one right to Ravis, and despite the fact that I thought the Revs were pinned deep, I feel like they were happy the fact that they were defending deep and really haven't given up too many clear cut chances compared to what we saw in the first half. There was a huge shot for a penalty for Alajuelense for a handball that was not given before Moya had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Campbell then puts it wide from close to the 76th minute, and then in the 80th minute, really just kind of completely against the run of play. Veroni would score from Ishmael to tie the game up at one apiece. First has been left. Calmo Veroni has actually scored a goal for New England. That's when you know the end of time is near, when he finally gets on the score sheet. But all kidding aside, great to see Veroni score here. And I know New England was already well in control in terms of the aggregate score, but that has to feel good for Veroni, and also has to feel good to the entire coaching staff. Like, you can clearly see, they even show Caleb Porter. He looked like he was ecstatic because this is the number 9 who has really struggled to begin the season, and that hopefully this might be a goal that can really be a lift off of Veroni that really need to impress heading into this season, because of how much of effectiveness that he's shown in his first couple of seasons with the Revs. And then on the other end, Ravis would deny Moya as Alajuelense looked to answer, but in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one, 5-1 win on the aggregate for New England. As the shots in this one, 23 shots compared to 5 that New England has in this game. 8 shots on goal compared to 5 the Revs had. So yeah, again, Alajuelense had plenty of shots in this game, but really at the end of the day, New England, especially in the second half, they weren't really dealing with too much of pressure compared to what we saw in the first half. 5 shots off target for the none that New England had, 7 shots that was blocked for the none that New England has, and possession wise, and I can't believe this is actually true. This has to be false. This is also why I'm a little bit indisputed whenever I look into terms of the CONCACAF website to look at possession wise, because apparently on the league website it doesn't actually give the possession of the game. But they said New England had more of the possession, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Alajuelense has. There's no way in the world New England had more of the possession. Like, throughout this game, it was mostly Alajuelense kind of control the game. So I am definitely debating on that kind of stats, and I feel like that probably was not the right stats of whoever keep track in terms of the possession of this game. But nevertheless, New England, they are moving on into the quarterfinal. But unfortunately, in the quarterfinal, they now have to face against the defending Liga MX champion, that is Club America. And so far, New England, they have been cruising their way in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But this is where the first big test begins, with them playing against Club America. And maybe you could say that this could be maybe the beginning of the end for the New England Revolution, because, like I said, this team looks absolutely exhausted. And unfortunately, they're not going to get a rest either, because they got a weekend matchup. I believe they're playing against Cincinnati in their weekend's matchup. So that's going to be interesting between two teams that must be absolutely exhausted coming back from their CONCACAF Champions Cup adventure. But yeah, for the Revs, even though it is good news that they're moving into the quarterfinal, I mean, if you're a Revs fan, it's kind of a bit of a conflict of interest that you're happy your team is moving another closer step to potentially win the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but you also feel like, yeah, it's probably going to come to an end against Club America, and especially the league play itself. That has been a huge problem for New England. I mean, New England has yet to get a single point this season, and they're looking to try to do it this weekend, but they're gonna have to do it with this squad. That in this game against Alajuelense, it was pretty clear that this team was running on fumes, and clearly looked like they desperately need at least a week of rest. But like I said, they don't get it because of the way that they have to play Cincinnati on the weekend and going back to Foxborough and playing at home against Cincinnati. Speaking of Cincinnati, so yeah, this is the game that I've mentioned before, where I'm so happy that MLS games are now on Apple TV. And even though when MLS game is broadcast on Fox, I don't have to worry about watching it on Fox, because I know I can just watch it on Apple TV, because Fox struck the ball again. Around the 70th minute mark, and really right after when Cincinnati they conceded that second goal, and it's their old friend Brendan Vasquez, the one that come haunt back the team to give Monterrey the lead and the 2-goal aggregate. That's when Fox basically dropped the ball and decided that, yeah, we're not gonna show the rest of the game. Who needs to see the rest of this game when we know it's probably gonna be a blowout, like what we saw in the first two games involving MLS team versus Liga MX team in the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Now, early on, Vasquez would put it wide on the header before there was a shout for a penalty for Cincinnati not given. Bear then heads it wide from close in the 11th minute, as I thought it was a promising start for Cincinnati as they were looking for the opener. Medina then had a free header, but missed wide in the 19th minute. I thought Cincinnati has not really done well in terms of those ball coming into the box. Like it feels like they weren't doing a good job in terms of defending whenever the crosses comes in, or in the case of Medina getting a free header there, that was because of just bad set piece defending there from Cincinnati perspective. Medina then had another chance just a couple of minutes later, but he puts it over the bar on the volley before Andrada had to deny Acosta from close range. I gotta say, both goalkeepers in this game was definitely up the game, and I think the two-legged affair, one of the more underrated thing that will probably get lost is the fact that both goalkeeper play very well, especially Andrada, the Monterrey goalkeeper. He was definitely on his games both in this one and also in the first leg to prevent Cincinnati to potentially make it interesting in this two-legged affair. On the other end, Santano would deny Meza from close range as the chances were coming for both ends. But who can get the opening goal in this game? Well, Romo tried to do so. In fact, he kind of felt a little fortunate that it fell to him because originally this was a shot that hit off the wall from the free kick and it just bounced right into the path of Luis Romo, and that, yeah, he would definitely love to have that one back with the way that he had so much space there in the 12-yard box, but missed the target. The good news for him is that he didn't make up for it just 10 minutes later because he would get on the score sheet as he scored here from Meza to make it 1-0 in favor of Rayados. And instantly, I'm just thinking myself, oh, this is going to be a long night for Cincinnati because the one thing they cannot do is concede the first goal. Like if I'm just kind of thinking that for Cincinnati, in order for them to get out of this game and able to move on into the next round, they have to score first. They don't score first in this win, and that's when I thought that they maybe have no shots of moving on into the next round. Moreno then flicked it wide from close range. Rayados was definitely feeling it. They were having control of this game. Cincinnati desperately need halftime to regroup. We then get some coming together between both of these teams because again, it's an MLS versus Liga MX matchup in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. There's going to be some coming together. Well, we do head to halftime with Monterrey leading 1-0, but the end of the second half, Cincinnati ties it, and they waste no time to tie it too, as Lucho Acosta would score here to tie the game up at one apiece, and what a great goal this was from Lucho Acosta. Wonderful solo effort to just cut through that Rayados defense, and that, yeah, when all things are in doubt, why not trust your MVP of getting yourself back into this game? So the game was all tied up at one apiece, but most importantly, Cincinnati have life because now all of a sudden, if they can score one more, then not only they take the lead in terms of this game, which uh, heading into halftime that looked like it was unthinkable. They can actually win this tie if they get that next goal because they would have the away goal advantage. Andrada then denied Bupenza, but it recycled back to Bear, who was also denied by Andrada on the follow up. Again, Andrada was an absolute monster in this one. He was doing anything and everything to trying to keep Rayados to not to not go behind in this game and also the aggregate score. But there was no doubt that Cincinnati looked like a new team as they were pushing to try to get the second goal, and that whatever Pat Nolan said to this team, it definitely worked out. I mean, it feels like Pat Nolan, whatever his halftime message was the complete opposite of the halftime message that Jim Curtin told to his guys against Pachuca, because Cincinnati looked much more dangerous in the beginning of the second half. Though on the other end, Sanotano had to deny Meza from close range before Yetland would head one right to Andrada. Then Sanotano would deny Romo from close in the 61st minute. I thought Rayados started to gain some momentum again. They started to control the game and were looking to retake the lead. Oriano did try to shoot from long range, but he puts that one way high. But then in the 67th minute, Rayados gets their lead back. And guess who? It's Brendan Vasquez. He scored from Meza to make it 2-1 in favor of Monterrey. Another example of what I said in today's News of the Week episode of the fact that it is absolutely a definition of insanity that Greg Berhalter decided not to call him up for those nations league semifinal and potential final game for the U.S. men's national team. Like, you literally have one of the hottest, if not the hottest, number 9 in the continent, and you do not call him up for those Nations League game. I mean, that feels like a move that could come back to haunt the U.S. in the Nations League game. But yeah, he scored here to make it 2-1. It also came off a lightning counterattack, and it's not a big surprise. And by the way, I've actually wrote the wrong team there. I wrote Cincinnati, of course, got the goal. I know Brandon Vasquez used to play for Cincinnati, but he doesn't play for them anymore. He played for Rayados now, and that yeah, came off of a lightning counterattack. It's not a big surprise considering Cincinnati was really pushing to try to get that second goal, and they basically left themselves exploit on the break there, and Rayados took full advantage of it. But this is also a win in a couple of minutes after this goal was scored that Fox decided that yeah, feels like this game is done. Like they probably saw what happened in the Pachuca Union and Orlando versus Tigres game where they feel like it's going to be ugly. So why not just decided to not even finish broadcasting this game and switch to college basketball instead? And they've said that you can of course watch it on the Fox Sports app. Now, obviously, I don't have the Fox Sports app, but even then, from what I heard, people saying that even when you switch to the Fox Sports app it was still showing the college basketball game. It was not showing the correct game whatsoever. And this again is another example of my frustration in terms of Fox and their coverage in terms of soccer and especially in this competition. I swear to God, this has to be the last year that Fox and CONCACAF has this broadcast right. And in some way, I feel like CONCACAF has to do something about this because this feels like it's breaching what you're supposed to do where you're not supposed to as a broadcast of these games just decide to cut the coverage in the middle of the game and do not show it even on the network that you said that it was going to show in Fox Sports uh network app because this is just getting ridiculous. I'm getting fed up in terms of seeing this happen. We saw this happen even in the Orlando versus Tigres game. Well, at least in my cases, basically the stream basically died and I couldn't get it working again. Though I think that was only on my end. This was basically nationwide. Like literally, the game just cut out in the 70th minute. I just could not find any knockoff stream to basically watch the rest of the game. So yeah, basically I didn't take too any notes besides maybe a goal that was being scored, which there wasn't really any. And in the end, Monterrey walked off with a 2-1 win in this one, 3-1 overall in terms of the aggregate. As the shots in this one, 18 shots for the 10 that Cincinnati has. Both team had 5 shots on goal, 9 shots off target for the 3 that Cincinnati has. Both team had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 45 or actually 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And I will say that as much as I know Cincinnati lost this one, I think out of the 3 teams that have play against their Liga MX Pro in the second leg, Cincinnati definitely played the better out of those 3 teams. I mean, they actually did show some fight in this game, and in general, this was actually a really good game for Cincinnati. But when you play against the top team in Liga MX and especially the top team according to the CONCACAF rankings, in the second leg, you have to put away those chances and also hope that their goalkeeper doesn't just become a wall after giving up a equalizer in the beginning of the second half, which unfortunately that was not the case. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of both of these games, or at least 70 minutes out of the 90 minutes of this game, that is. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.